So first of all, congratulations for your selection to the Wharton Moelis Advanced Access Program. Before we discuss your profile, could you please tell us more about the Moelis program and explain the idea of deferred MBAs?
Yes, absolutely. So the deferred MBA program is basically so if you're admitted in the program, you get to work for 2 to 4 years, but you have a seat, already waiting for you at an MBA school. So
Mm-hmm.
the entire point of the MBA program is to sort of act as a safety net, because you can literally do anything. You can explore your passion, you can start your own company, you can take some level of risk, because even
Mm-hmm.
if you fail, you know that you have an MBA waiting for you, at a school or something, at the end of 2 to 4 years. So that's the entire point of a deferred MBA. Now, coming to the Wharton's Moelis Advanced Access Program, so this program is like fairly new. I know
Mm-hmm.
that the first program was started by Harvard. It was, I feel, the HBS's 2+2 program.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then after that, then Stanford started, and then even UPenn started it, as part of the Wharton's Business School. So Wharton started this program. I feel now it's been what, about 4 years now, when it started. So it
Okay.
was first only for UPenn students, and then they sort of started it for all sort of students, from all the different schools. And so yeah, so this happened about 2000, and I feel 18, when they opened it up to all the different schools as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And many candidates, just like me when I was
Yeah,
in college, are not even aware of the deferred MBA options while they are in college,
yeah.
actually. So, when did you get to know about the program and how did you prepare for the same?
So I got to know. So I always knew about Harvard's program. So even when I went in as a freshman to Penn, for my chemical engineering and finance,
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually a dual degree student. So when I went in for my dual degree, so I always knew about Harvard's 2+2 program, but I did not know about Wharton's 2+2, because it started when I was in my sophomore year. When I was in my
Mm-hmm.
second year of college. So I got to know this program at that point of time, and then I got slowly inclined towards it. And in terms of what I did for this program, so first was just to get your scores in, your standardized testing in terms of your
Mm-hmm.
GMAT/GRE, whichever one works for you.
Yeah.
So it took me about 6 months to like have a high score on the GMAT.
Mm-hmm.
So first step is that, and then you focus on the rest of the application, which comprises of your essays, your resume, your entire storyline, and so on and so forth. So like that's the first step. That's the first and the second step respectively. But the first step is to sort of focus on your grades, your GPA, and as well as your GMAT slash
Mm-hmm.
GRE, whichever one works for you.
So I'm just curious to know how much time in advance did you
Yeah,
actually start preparing? And I don't mean just the GMAT.
yeah.
Did you like have a strategy on building your profile beforehand before applying?
So I actually went in with a very open mind. So what I looked for in my college are the experiences more than anything
Mm-hmm.
else. Like what skills will I gain from this specific student organization, or like what skill will I not gain from this experience.
Mm-hmm.
So like like that's been my formula in life, mainly to sort of go after experiences
Mm-hmm.
in life. So yeah, so I went in with an open mind. And in terms of when I started to think about the MBA, was in my third year, was in my junior year, because I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I needed at least a year to sort of focus on the right story for my MBA, and to also sort of have the right GMAT grades and so on and so forth. Because I would still be a student at Penn, right? So there's still
Yeah.
all of that Penn stuff to sort of to think about, all the academics there. But then there's also this additional MBA stuff to now really focus on. So it took me a year to sort of get all of those things in line, and to really sort of get a strong application, I think now, once I've been admitted. So yeah,
Well, congratulations. Your work paid off.
thank you.
Um, I'm actually curious which other programs did you apply to? And per your research, what differentiates the Wharton Moelis program from other comparable programs?
Yeah. So those are two questions. So the first part is what are the program? So since I'm a dual degree student, I'm studying chemical engineering and finance. So I'm taking an extra semester to graduate. So I'm effectively, will get done with my studies in December 21. But I took part in all the graduation ceremonies in this past May. So actually, given that only two schools allowed me to apply this year in this year's application cycle, which was obviously one is Wharton and the other one is MIT Sloan. And all the other schools asked me to apply in the next application cycle. So Harvard, Stanford, Chicago, Booth, they asked me to apply in the next application cycle. So I was originally gonna apply to these five schools. But now Wharton happened, so I took the offer from there. And then what differentiates Wharton? So I'll answer this in two parts. One is what happens during the MBA, and one is your post MBA. So I feel that whenever you go in, so I feel that whenever you go in for an MBA, you should look at what what the program will sort of add value to you in those 2 years when you're a student, but even after the 2 years for your MBA. So, I feel that's the most important thing for an MBA. But now, so in terms of Wharton now, coming specifically to Wharton, I feel that it has a fantastic advising support network. They call it the ASN, and they're really, really happy and proud about it. So what it does is that, so now Wharton has a lot of classes to explore. It has the most number of student organizations. It has about 1,000 student clubs. So it's almost like an ocean. You can really explore your possibilities. You can really explore your interest, your passion. So every student will be assigned an advisor, and that advisor works very nicely with the students, say almost 15 days. And it really asks you to sort of really see what you want to gain from your MBA experience. So I feel that that's something which is really fantastic about Wharton's advising support network. That's number one. Then obviously the student organizations, you have over 800 to 1,000 student clubs, so you can really explore your interests in like all of these different facets. Say if I'm interested in energy, then I can go for an energy club. But say if I'm interested in the finance side of energy, so so there'll be a club for the finance side of energy as well. So it really works well for students who have those multiple interests and who want to combine them eventually in their career. So that's basically the two reasons. What I think is like really valuable as a student. As an early admit, I would say. And then I also think the number three reason is obviously the finance side. Wharton is known to be a finance school, and it's also known to be an extremely strong finance school. So I do believe that you have access to tremendous faculty. You have access to a lot of finance related resources. So if anyone wants to go into finance, if anyone wants to start something in the finance world, I would say Wharton would be the place for you. So it also depends on like your industry which you want to go towards. So even if I want to go into the finance side of energy, it's at the end of the day, what I'll be doing is finance and deal structuring, so on and so forth. And so this is in your MBA. Now, post your MBA, you have access to the alumni network. And I feel Wharton's alumni network is sort of the best across all the business schools. It's also known for its very strong ecosystem for its students, for its alumni. So I really believe that that's also super helpful, and that's super important in your life as well, even after your MBA. So I feel that's really interesting and really strong about Wharton.
Yeah, I mean, I did my research, and I've seen that basically this program is sponsored by Moelis, who is an investment banker.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah. So absolutely, I do agree. I'm completely sure for finance, it's a very nice school to attend. And now I would like to move on and ask you, how difficult is it to make it to a program like the Wharton Moelis, and what was your approach to the application? So what I wanted to actually clarify here is the competition of the number of non-Wharton candidates making it to the program.
Yeah, so I feel that it's quite difficult, to be honest. In my batch, there are about 140 students who are admitted, and and so out of those 140 students, I feel there are only 8 to 10 UPenn students. To be
Mm,
very honest with you, so it's actually quite hard for Penn students, and I was quite surprised by the number. After I got in, when I
mm,
saw the group which was created by them, so I was quite surprised by the number because I knew a lot of my friends, who were applying for this program as well, and who did not make it, unfortunately.
mhm,
So I feel that that's quite a hard number. So 140 students were offered acceptance, but I feel students which will sort of accept Wharton's acceptance would be about 80 to 100 students.
mhm,
Yeah. So I feel that's the rough size of the class, if you're looking for that. And yeah, and in terms of what components of my profile did I handle, I feel I focused more on my chemical engineering background. I focused
mhm,
more on the science, technology, more on the energy side of my application. And I said that I wanted to become an expert on this side before I sort of learned the finance side at Wharton as an MBA candidate. So I focused more on the financy stuff, non-businessy stuff. Although I'm studying finance,
mhm.
but I still focus on the engineering side because I feel that that would have made more sense in my application.
Absolutely. And I've also read on the internet that Wharton has a very different interview compared to other programs. Please tell us more about your interview experience.
Yeah, so Wharton has a team-based discussion. So in my case, it's basically a Zoom call. It was a Zoom call, so
Mm-hmm.
that usually happens in person. Had we not been in a COVID pandemic, but it has a team-based discussion, and so you are basically paired with like 6 or 7 other students, and then you have to, have a solution to this 5 or 6 line thing, which they give you beforehand your interview. And then after the team-based discussion, which lasts for about half an hour, you have a single interview, which is with a second-year MBA student,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically for you to ask them about their MBA journey, about their MBA life, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically about 5 to 10 minutes. So
Mm-hmm.
overall, it's a 40-minute interview. But yeah, most of it is like with other students. Yeah. So most of it is a team based, and a very small chunk is the one-on-one interview.
So, from what I understand, it's a case study or something.
Yeah, it's like so it's not exactly like a case study. So they give you a prompt before the interview, and then you
Okay.
have to have some sort of answer to the prompt as a group. So you have to share your
Mm-hmm.
ideas, exchange your ideas, and then you have to say that, okay, this is the solution for this prompt. So
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like that. And then you are left as a group for basically half an hour. And then they come in, the second year MBA students who are basically just silent observers,
Oh yeah.
sort of look at each student, and, and then they evaluate you
Yeah, they
based on.
probably look at the student's personality, whether the student will be a
Yeah,
team player, etc., whether he'll be able to
exactly.
contribute to the program.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
feel one piece of advice in a team-based discussion is like, don't be a jerk. Just don't be a complete jerk. Just don't be like, okay, okay, now I'm gonna say, okay, now Harry will say, okay, now Tom will say. Just don't try to be at the forefront of the team-based discussion. Your role should be to let others also speak up, and to
Mm-hmm.
usually have their ideas also sort of come across in that Zoom meeting, or like in that physical meeting space. So I feel that's one piece of advice which you should all, sort of have in mind before you go on.
Yeah, I hope it will be useful to those who will afterwards watch this video. And now
Yeah.
I actually wanted to ask, what are your plans before you start your MBA at Wharton? And are you deferring it for 2, 3, 4 years?
So I'll be deferring it for, I think, 3 years, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what my F1 visa allows. So if you're an international student and if you're doing a STEM degree, so you can work on your
Mm-hmm.
student visa for 3 years on the
Yeah.
OPT, on your OPT. But if you don't have a STEM degree, then you can work for, I feel, 2 years. So then
Mm-hmm.
those students defer it for 2 years. But if those students get an H1B visa, then they can, go as long as 4 years. But 4 years is the max limit. But I'll be deferring it for 3 years as of now. And I've actually started my own company. It's called New Frontiers Advisors. So we
Wow.
basically help with, so we basically help US based startups in the Silicon Valley. who want to expand in India. So we help them, open up a market here in India. So I've started that company, and and so we are a team of 3 partners, and we already have 15 sort of students working in it, students slash employees, which are working in my company right now. So it's really good. So it almost acts like a bridge between the US companies who want to expand to India. And
Yeah.
now we are also going the other way around. We are also focusing on Indian startups who want to expand in the US. And like I've spent like 18 years in India and now 4 years in the US. So I think that I have a fairly good understanding of like both the countries, both the ecosystems in terms of the science and technology industries.
So from what I understand, you just mentioned that you spent 4 years in the US. You did your
Yeah.
bachelor's degree in the US?
Yes. So I did
Oh,
my bachelor's at UPenn. Yeah.
that's congratulations. I mean, and I also wanted to know what support do you anticipate as part of the Moelis program during this time?
Yeah, so I believe that I have access to all the Penn's resources. Actually, we got an email last week about all the resources we have access to in the next 2 to 4 years. So these resources could be anything from like free subscriptions to Wall Street journals to PitchBook, to all of those different industry specific resources.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have resources such as students and all my advisors as part of the advising support network. So we have this app called the Wharton Headquarters. You can also it's technically a website, but you can also have an app version of it. And so you're essentially so you have access to all students' contacts. It almost is like a Facebook for that batch. And
Okay.
more interestingly, you can also join subgroups on those apps and those on that app. So, for example, it could be defined by region, like say India. So, students in India can sort of join that subgroup. Students in say France can sort of join that France subgroup,
Mm-hmm.
and have different events catered to them. And they can have social and professional events as an entire group or like even as a subgroup. You also have subgroups defined by industry. So, for example, I've joined the energy industry. I've also joined the finance industry subgroup. Then there are other industries as well, like consulting, services, so on and so forth. So the level of interaction is pretty high. You can exchange ideas, you can speak. And we also have Wharton events which happen every week now, which are virtual events, but we'll also have in-person events starting next semester, when we all are back in our, say, work locations or like in our respective cities slash countries. So we'll have those Wharton specific events as well. But for Penn students, they also have a special, Wharton Moelis event just for Penn students because we've been in the Penn ecosystem now for quite some time. So for Penn students who got admitted in the Moelis program, they also have have a special event for them every year. It's almost like a retreat, I feel, for Penn students.
Yeah, so you basically anticipated my next question. But
Yeah.
just to take a step back and understand, there is the Wharton MBA, Moelis MBA. Is the Moelis a subset of the MBA program, or is the entire MBA program called Moelis? Because,
that's a good question. So the MBA program, as we know, there is a full-time MBA program. The Moelis Advanced Access MBA is a deferred MBA. So it's called the deferred MBA because, as you mentioned, that the family actually sort of built the infrastructure to sort of have Wharton's, or to sort of start the Advanced Access program, the deferred MBA program. And it was started by the Moelis family.
Yeah.
And so as part of the program, we work 2 to 4 years, but then we are part of the full-time MBA.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we are essentially full-time MBA students.
Yeah, but you benefit from the let's call it the coaching and the resources that are provided by the Moelis family.
Correct. You benefit from all the resources which are provided by the in those 2 to 4 years, and also for Penn students, if you are selected, I feel for all Penn students they give you a fellowship of $10,000 per year as well by the Moelis family. So so for Penn students who got in, you have a fellowship of $10,000 per year.
Okay, because I've read that and I thought it's not for Penn students, it's for outsiders. I mean, students who apply from
Oh,
other colleges. So that's actually a
oh,
good insight. Yeah.
yeah,
So from
because
what
yeah, sorry.
from what I understand, you got the fellowship as well, right?
Yes, I got the fellowship as well. Yeah. But I'm not sure if they must have expanded it to all students from different schools now. But
Mhm.
I feel originally it was for just Penn students, but that's maybe because they only took in Penn students when it was started. But now, since they expanded to all other schools, maybe they're offering the fellowship to all the admitted students
Yeah,
now.
I will look into that. It's a good area for research. So now I would actually ask you, what advice would you like to give to students looking to apply to deferred admit programs, and more specifically to your program, the Moelis Advanced Access Program?
Yeah, so basically, one piece of general advice, the way I started off with this program was, as an engineer, like I always like to quantify things.
Mhm,
So I made an equation. Actually, I wrote this out on a piece of paper.
mhm,
It was from one of the admission officers, which I heard this. It is like the equation is like this: x plus y equal to z or z, and
mhm,
so x is basically your skills, your experiences which you've built in the 4 years at your respective college slash university.
mhm,
Y is basically your MBA school, your deferred MBA school, and the resources that school will sort of give you, which will enhance all the built up skills and experiences you already have, the knowledge you already have, to
mhm,
sort of reach your destination, which is Z, your
mhm,
eventual goal. So it should be like a perfect lock and key. So I
mhm,
feel so I feel once you have all of those different components of X, Y, and Z written down, what you have, what the college has, and your eventual goal, then it really makes your life really easy in terms of structuring your essays, in terms of really answering the interview questions, and really explaining your story. So I always looked at my application from that angle. And specifically for the Moelis applicants, I would say really focus on the resources which Wharton will give you and which no other school will give you. I feel
mhm,
that is the key, and really be very specific. Don't be quite general. Of course, you can start general and then dive down, but really be extremely specific about the resources Wharton will give you, and of course also highlight your leadership experiences at the same time. What you've sort of had in your college in the past 4 years. So I feel
mhm.
that's the key. So I feel once you have that equation, it really makes your life very clear, and it really makes the application very smooth.
Very nice. Well, thank you very much. I hope all these insights will be useful for the people who will be reading or watching this.